Hello and welcome to a very important discussion on energy management. Why is it important? Well, it's a subject none of us can afford to be ill-informed about at the moment. Now, earlier in the year, we had a discussion on asset performance in manufacturing with Mr. David Bean of Mitsubishi Electric. Thousands of you watched the interview, which we promised to address the subject of energy management. So I'm pleased to welcome back David, and we're going to address this vital subject. So David, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Now, David, can we start? What are the drivers affecting the UK energy market?
I think there are four key drivers if we look at the energy market, not just in the UK, but globally. And I think they are capacity, cost. We're all aware of energy cost now. Thirdly, the drive towards net zero. And the final one being actually resilience and the resilience of our energy supply. So if we take each of those in turn, if we look at capacity, the need for electrical energy is just astronomical and is growing all the time. At the moment, there are some statistics that say we consume about 24 trillion kilowatt hours of energy globally. The problem is, though, that's due to grow to around 60 trillion kilowatt hours by 2050 as we drive towards an electric economy. And that's our direction of travel as a society, is towards an electric economy. So this is going to happen. And what we're going to do is make sure that the capacity is there in our network to actually be able to service that need. So that's one point to bear in mind when we start to talk about energy management. The second point is cost. We're all aware of that. And we've got to be better able to manage our energy costs. So that's, again, where energy management is key. And we've certainly seen an uptake in demand for energy management in the manufacturing space because of cost. The third one is net zero. We're all aware of that drive towards net zero in 2050. But the energy grid itself is actually one of the key contributors of carbon within the grid. You know, it's one of the four biggest contributors, and there is a need within that market to reduce carbon. We've done quite well at that in the UK. You know, we're one of the two biggest users of renewable energy resources in Europe. And we've seen our energy mix change substantially over the past sort of 5 to 10 years. So, you know, with that, though, the introduction of renewables into the grid, what we are doing is actually introducing the fourth issue or driver I see in the energy market, which is that of resilience. By introducing renewables, we're really providing a degree of instability within the grid. And that idea of resilience has never been an issue really in the UK. We've always had a very stable supply. And I think over the past year, you've seen instances where there has been concern over us being able to meet our demand for energy. And I think that will continue until we get to grips with better management solutions for the grid around resilience. And that is somewhere where Mitsubishi Electric do play. And we'll talk probably in a little bit about some of those solutions.
So those figures that you're talking about are staggering in terms of what we're consuming and what we're looking to consume. So again, it highlights the importance of this subject. So if we follow on from our last interview, can you summarize the impacts of digitalization on the sector? Yeah,
well, you know, for me, digitalization is about being able to harness data and make data-driven decisions to better improve maybe the manufacturing processes. And so therefore, within the energy space, I see digitalization as being a key disruptor in our change in our energy market. We've moved from, or we're in the process of moving from, a traditional energy model of large volume or large power producers of energy being pushed out through a transmission and distribution grid to consumers of energy. I think what digitalization is doing is changing that model, and it's changing it by moving towards the model of a smart grid, which is where we have localized grids which provide some degree of generation, provide some degree of storage, and obviously provide consumption as well. And I think what we're doing there is moving from this producer-consumer model to something called a prosumer model, which is where an entity is not only a consumer of energy, but also is producing the energy to contribute back to the grid. Right. So that is definitely a key component of what digitalization is doing within the energy sector.
So just to be specific then, you're seeing more and more a case of where we're generating our own power, managing it ourselves, and even contributing back.
Yes, I think that's happening at different levels within the UK and also within Europe, is that we are not only working at a residential level to contribute back to the grid, but also at a commercial level and at an industrial level as well.
Right. That's quite a major area, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Quite an important subject. So looking at what Mitsubishi Electric offer in terms of specific solutions to the energy sector, can you run us through what is on offer?
Yeah, okay. Obviously us in conjunction with Mitsubishi Electric Automation Systems, in conjunction with our iconic suite software platform, we have a scalable modular solution to offer the energy market, especially within the manufacturing space, where we can provide tools that help a manufacturer better understand their energy consumption. And then once they've understood their energy consumption, they can actually make a process more efficient and actually reduce energy. So we provide the tools to help them understand that. So that's a key component of our asset energy management solution.
Okay, so when we spoke before in our last interview, you talked about that scalability. So just honing in on that for a second, with that scalability, it's not the whole plant that has to change in one go.
No, that's right. You can start at a single asset and grow from there. So if you can identify within your manufacturing process a high energy consuming asset, or what you feel is a inefficient energy consuming asset, that's the place to start. Right. And you can start there and grow out from it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Could you elaborate further on the Mitsubishi Electric energy management solutions for manufacturers? Could you tell us a bit more, please?
We obviously have, as Mitsubishi Electric, a diverse portfolio of solutions for the energy market. We are very much a driver behind the electric economy as that progresses over time. And we have solutions that fit in, certainly in the transmission grid space, in the distribution grid space, for microgrid and smart grid management. We have solutions for asset management within the manufacturing space. We have a range of intelligent building solutions that really fit into the commercial space, and also over time beginning to appear in the manufacturing space as well. So we have a diverse portfolio that meets the needs of the drivers within the energy sector.
Right, understood. So this is really an intrinsic subject for Mitsubishi Electric.
Absolutely.
And finally, David, are there any actual practical examples of this in play in the UK?
Oh, very much so. If you take the transmission grid, as Mitsubishi Electric, we have had a role to play in the grid interconnects with continental Europe. So we've provided the transmission substation in Blythe up in the northeast for the grid interconnect with Norway. If you move out of that space into the manufacturing space, as an example, we've worked with one specific company within the agricultural sector for mushroom growing. And in fact, in that space, we've actually reduced that manufacturer's energy bill by tenfold through better and more efficient management of their manufacturing processes. That's staggering.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be more companies in that space that will benefit from solutions from Mitsubishi Electric over time.
So those figures are real?
They're real. Yeah.
They're actual. So we're not talking about promises of what could be achieved, what might be achieved. We're talking about things.
We're there and we're delivering now, Andrew. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's a real insight into this subject, and I really, really appreciate it. So clearly, as we discussed earlier, energy management is very much a critical subject. The escalating costs mean that we cannot afford to be ill-informed. We need to understand what we can do. And certainly picking up on what David mentioned earlier about scalability, starting somewhere, not trying to take on the whole plant in one go. All of these things really do make sense. So why not get in touch with David and the team at Mitsubishi Electric? All of the contact information, as always, will be on the final screen of this interview. So again, thank you, David, for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next interview.